Family Day today, February 17th, 2025, and many provinces across Canada are recognizing Family Day. If you're a person with disabilities, stay tuned as we're going to be jumping right into that discussion next. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frayne. I'm the host. Today, we're going to be discussing Family Day. Many provinces across Canada are going to be, recognizing a Family Day or celebrating Family Day, February 17th, 2025. A lot of provinces right now are having frigid Arctic air across many provinces right now, and Ontario is getting hammered. Beyond hammered with snowfall after snowfall. In British Columbia right now, we're at +7 degrees right now Celsius. That's the warmest it's actually been in several weeks. We weren't well below seasonal temperatures like compared to other provinces, but in our standards in British Columbia, we've actually had really above seasonal temperatures overall this whole season. So people that are in other areas of the country, they must envy what we're going through here. However, before we jump into Family Day, we've actually had a lot less precipitation than we normally do at this time of the year. So with spring not too far in the future here and summer, I think we're going to have a lot of droughts that are going to be happening. So hopefully it'll rain on the parade, should we say. Hopefully it doesn't rain on Family Day. That would be a real damper in many provinces. However, raining on Family Day for PWD across Canada, that's a different story in itself. And that's one thing that we're going to be discussing today is not everybody is going to be celebrating Family Day or recognizing Family Day because, we're going to talk about that today too.
Yeah. Just before we get into it, for people that don't know, we have Family Day is the third Monday in February for certain provinces. It's here in BC, New Brunswick, Alberta, Ontario, and Saskatchewan. All are celebrating Family Day, and they call it Family Day today. And then you have other provinces, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and the other territories. They either don't celebrate it or it goes under a different name. There's a few provinces that don't even celebrate it. I think there's the 3 territories that don't celebrate it at all, like the Yukon and Northwest Territories don't even celebrate it.
I don't celebrate it myself.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it. Because we have to say it. We mentioned this a lot. Is that governments have They have standards where you can call them double standards, where it's like we'll have one standard for able-bodied. if you're not disabled, there's this standard over here where, like, say, a family can be a family or a pension can be a pension. If you're able-bodied, we'll treat families the same and we'll treat pensions the same. But as soon as you're disabled or on PWD assistance or on welfare, all of a sudden the definitions of family and definitions of it's right out the window. Like, we don't have to respect family. We don't have to respect tensions. We don't have to respect, it's just all out the window. And that's kind of why I was very aggressive with my thumbnail. If you look at the thumbnail, I was pretty aggressive with it.
Yes.
We won't be swearing on today's podcast, but I did want to make it a bit clickbaity because it actually needs to be said. That there's so many governments that like to speak a good game of like,
Oh yeah.
we've got to get rid of hate. We've got to get rid of hate and all, again, we've talked about the pink shirt day and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, even David Eby has said, oh, we got to get rid of all this hate and racial violence and on and on, whatever, right? But governments never talk about the PWD hate.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
that's a real thing. That's a real thing, and we're going to get into it.
And that's why we've got Pink Unicorn sitting behind me, because they're alive and well. Pink Unicorn.
It is a real thing, and let's get into it.
Sure.
We have an audio recording, and again, I'm always use these kind of things sparingly because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But this is from CBC Radio. It's Gloria Macarenko, and this was an interview that she did with Sheila Malcolmson. It was 7 months ago, so it would have been back in August of 2024 or thereabouts. It would have been just before the provincial election, because the provincial election was early October, right?
Right. Yes.
So just keep that in your back pocket, that this was just before the provincial election, and even Sheila Malcolmson makes a reference and says, I hope we get a chance. I hope our government gets a chance to continue the work. She says, I hope our government gets a chance to continue the work. So go ahead and play the clip, and
sure.
we'll take pauses so we don't, because it's a 9-minute clip. I kind of want to insert commentary as we go.
Okay.
If possible. So we'll see how
sure.
we'll see how that goes.
You can tell me when to pause, and then
I'll do the if anybody's familiar with the Howie Meeker, from the old Hockey Night in Canada. Stop it right there! Stop it right there! Back it up! Back it up!
Give me the chopper! No!
Give me the chopper now! Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to play the clip right now for our listeners and our viewers that are watching live right now. Yeah. Hoping that the audio comes through nice and clear. If you're in the comment section, let me know if you can hear it. If not, I'll pump up the volume, pump up the jam, pump it up. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yesterday on the program, we had a conversation about dating and relationships for people with disabilities. And one of the issues we heard about was with BC's disability benefits. So this benefit, it is calculated by household income, not individual income, which means people can lose that benefit if they live with a romantic partner. Jessica Gordon lives in Victoria. She has fibromyalgia. She can't work. And here's what she told us.
I met my partner. It started becoming apparent that this was an excellent relationship. This was probably the best relationship I've been in. And then I started looking into it. I've been on provincial benefits since 2019. So this is 2 years in, and I had no idea. And when I looked it up, I was horrified to learn that it would all be taken away. Assuming your partner works, it's the amount for a couple that you can earn collectively between the two of you is just over $19,000 before they start clawing it back dollar for dollar. $19,000.
Okay, that was Jessica Gordon on the program yesterday. So today, to help us better understand this, we have Sheila Malcolmson with us. Sheila is BC's Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. Minister Malcolmson, good afternoon to you.
Hi, Gloria.
So can you explain for us just how exactly the BC Disability Benefit works?
So BC's got, like all provinces in Canada, a system of support for people that don't have enough to get by, whether they're people with disabilities or whether they need income assistance for other reasons. You'll remember that we did a big overhaul in the legislation, especially focused on connection to work.
Okay, maybe stop it there, Brent. Maybe stop it there.
Please.
Okay. Just a little bit. I like how she says we did a big overhaul. Wow.
Really?
Sheila Malcolmson uses the term. We did a big overhaul. What was the big overhaul, Brent? What was the big overhaul?
There was no big overhaul at all. I call a big overhaul is completely redoing the whole regulations in the under the bill in order to modernize things and bring things up to a standard. When I say standard, meaning bringing rates up to a no less than poverty level financial support. Now that would be a complete overhaul.
They need to burn it down. They need to burn it down.
Yeah,
burn it down and start again.
That's what I mean. Like we got it, and then just bring things up to a rebuild.
And start by getting rid of that frickin' name, poverty reduction, because it's a frickin' joke. It's a frickin' joke that they do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Again, we're not going to swear on the show, but it's a frickin' joke.
Oh, it is, because you can't go a year, skip a year, and then pat yourself on the back and say, oh, well, we raised rates more than the other administration did when they were in power. Now it's doing the blame game back and forth. Well, you need to take ownership. Whoever is in government, okay, now it doesn't matter which party's in government, whoever's in government, you take ownership of that administration right then and now, and you say, this is what I'm going to do is bring things up to a standard level and no less than poverty level financial support. And that goes to every single province across Canada, not, oh, well, there's more to do, or economic downturn, or uncertainty, all those magic little soundbite words, right?
And you'll hear later in the clip, you'll hear Sheila Malcolmson actually use the term a couple times. There's more to do. There's more to do. She says it a couple times. But let's continue continue the clip.
Okay.
As far as looking for work and all of those, 20-year-old legislation that we kind of tore apart, heard from people all over the province about how it could serve them better, but really recognizing that, we inherited a lot of rules. That are locked into legislation, and we've certainly heard from people across BC that there's a lot of good work that we've already done since we came into government in 2017, but absolutely more work ahead of us.
More work to do.
Pulling that work together, what we've been hearing from advocates, and really hoping that we get more opportunity, depending how the election turns out in October, to be able to implement more changes to put more money in people's pockets and make things more fair. The rule that you talk about itself is one we inherited. It's the same rule across the whole country that it's been in place for a long time. That doesn't mean it's the right rule. We've already pulled some pieces apart of it, which I can talk about if you're interested, but absolutely hear people say that I think for women especially, it's one that we have got our eyes open on, and one that I hope we get a chance to tackle going forward.
Okay, I didn't really hear the answer to the question though. I mean, you heard what Jessica was saying. She gets 19.
I love that. Let's stop Let's stop it right there. Sure. I didn't really hear the answer to the question. I love the fact that Gloria Macarenko calls Sheila out because bless her heart, Sheila tried. She tried. Oh, yeah. She gave it the good college try, but but she did the typical Polly speak where you say a lot of nothing. And Gloria Macarenko calls her out on it. Says, "Well, you didn't answer the question. So, and that's true. She did not answer the question. So
right, continue. And then the other part where they said, she said, we inherited the problem, and
it's not our fault. We inherited this mess.
And then recognizes that it's not the right policy. It's not the right policy. For sure.
We know it's not right, but we'll continue to do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Especially we'll see what the results are, after the election. Well, the results are they won by 22 votes in one riding.
Yeah. And it's not even a guaranteed thing that they actually did win that riding.
So we'll see what happens going forward for sure. I'll play the rest here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In that case, and she could lose that money as well. So how does the benefit work right now in BC? Whether you've inherited it, whether it's existed, whether you're working on it, what is the system now?
Yeah, well, people come forward. If they have a physical disability, or any kind of disability, they go through an application process to show that they need extra supports, that they are either not able to work or that they can work a little bit less. People qualify or don't qualify, and some of it is that income threshold as well. We've already changed some of the things that are the asset test, and whether you the old days you would have to sell your home. And there's so much in the legislation and so much in the process about whether somebody qualifies for income assistance and how many savings they would have, or what assets they have, or what their family income is. But we did, on this particular rule that you're talking about, the spousal rule, we did already as a government make some changes. We increased the length of time that unmarried people can live together before they're assessed as spouses. Now they could live for 12 months together.
Okay,
for
let's stop it there, Brent.
Sure.
Let's stop it there, because that's an important point right there. Because
Yep.
remember that spousal rule of living together for 12 months before you're considered a common law spouse. That's a big thing, because
it's huge.
back in the day, it was under the BC Liberals. It used to be 3 months, and I believe it stayed 3 months. Even under the NDP for a while, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe
It did until they just recently changed that back in August.
It was very recent, right? It was 3 months for the longest time. And guess what the rule is? I just finished saying that there's two sets of rules, right? There's two sets of rules. There's a rule that you go by if you're able-bodied. So like 99.9% of British Columbians that live in this province, they have their set of rules. But if you're disabled, there's a special set of rules for us, Brent.
Yes.
Because here is the common law rule as it stands right now. It says, I looked it up in Google. In British Columbia, common law partners are couples who have lived together in a marriage-like relationship for at least 2 years.
Oh.
So it's 2 years.
2 years versus 1 year.
To establish a common law status, and it used to be 3 months. So they forced people with disability that had a disability. They forced people to have relationships, and said, well, if you've been with a person for three months, that's enough to develop a dependency on the person. And that person can be your meal ticket, and we'll cut you off.
Right. So if they have like five people, 5 or 6 people in a household that are PWD, I guess would all be into a relationship, common law relationship.
Sure.
Together, all of them. Wow.
Sure. It'd be like that show, that reality show, Sister Wives, where you can have like multiple wives and multiple husbands, right?
Yeah. Because I know like there's some tenants who live across the hall from me. There's 8 of them that live in there. So I guess they would all be into a common law relationship.
They must be all sharing wives and husbands together.
Yeah. That's pretty sad.
So for the longest time, here in BC, it was 3 months. 3 months where the government would basically force you to be dependent on another person.
Terrible.
And then it got changed to 6 months, and now it's a year, and now the government says, well, no, we changed to 12 months, and isn't that nice of us to do that? Well, the current rules for everybody else, if you're not disabled and not on assistance, the current rules for everybody else is 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So they're still forcing people with disabilities into relationships that maybe are not healthy, and they don't. It's not respecting autonomy, and
it should be based on the individual, not the household.
Yeah, and I think if we play the clip again, I think Gloria Macarenko is gonna zone in on this whole idea of autonomy. I believe that she's going to talk more on autonomy again.
Okay.
So if we just continue the clip, she's going to really zone in on the whole idea of autonomy and how that's important.
We also made some other changes around married spouses.
But why is it calculated on household income and not based on individual income?
There you go. Bingo.
Yep.
Again, this is the same approach across the whole country. It's the policy that
Everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it, Gloria. Everybody's doing it.
After each other.
Yeah.
I think that was the way that things were viewed in the past. And we are particularly focused.
Stop it right there, Brent. Now, that's my fault. I don't know if you can back it up. But Sheila just said that in the past, it was the logic was that families look after families.
Mm-hmm.
Families. That's what Sheila just said. Now, I kind of was talking, so you might have missed that. But
I'll play that part again, just so our listeners.
See if you can back it up and play that a little bit again, because Sheila says that this whole perverse policy of forced relationships, I mean, it's been going on for 30 years.
Yeah, you're saying that other provinces doing it too.
Other provinces do it, so
why not BC take the lead and actually show an example, and we can change it within BC, and maybe other provinces will follow suit.
And her excuse was, bad excuse is, well, we created the policy on the assumption that families take care of families. So see if you can back it up. If you can't, we'll make do. But
okay.
There's so much in the legislation and so much in the process about whether somebody qualifies for income assistance and how much, how many savings they would have, or what
right after this.
they have,
right after this, yeah.
The income is. But we did, on this particular rule that you're talking about, the spousal rule, we did already as a government make some changes. We increased the length
some
of
changes.
Unmarried people can live together before they're assessed as spouses.
Oh.
Now they could live for 12 months.
Ooh, 12 months. Wow.
The spousal rule kicks in. And we also made some other changes around married spouses.
But why is it calculated on household income and not based on individual income?
Individual shipping.
Again, this is the same approach across the whole country. It's the policy that we inherited, and it's about, like families look after each other. I think
families look after each other right there.
In the past. And we are particularly focused on the people that don't have any family supports or any other income supports.
Okay, stop it right there again.
Is
she just said a bingo statement right there. We're particularly focused on people that don't have any families.
Yeah.
And where can you see that in evidence, Brent? We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
The BC housing policies, right?
Yes.
BC housing policies. That shows it right there. That they're focused on people that like if you either have to have a family, and if you have to.
You have to be in a relationship.
You have to be in a relationship
in order to get into BC housing. And if you just have a roommate or a friend and you both want to get into BC housing, no, BC housing will deny that request. You have to be in a relationship or a family in order to get into BC housing, or be a single person to get into BC housing.
Yeah.
Again, families first, or individuals, or recognizing the person for who they are.
Yeah.
And my motto is always have people housed, not be pinning them. Oh, well, you have to be in a relationship. You have to have a family. What about if you just have someone in your life that that's a PWD, or maybe a friend, maybe that you maybe grew up with in your life, that you've known for since you were in grade 8 or something like that. And hey, they just want a place that they can move in with you into BC housing. Nope, can't do that.
Yeah. It's just crazy. This idea that again, like we said, you're catering to, you either have to be in a relationship to qualify, or you have to be basically homeless on the street.
Yeah, or fleeing violence.
Fleeing violence as a single person. typically they say they're catering to women there that's fleeing violence, and that's a good thing that they do that. I'm not saying it's not, but the idea that you have these housing policies where it's we're either going to cater to the family, or we're going to cater to the person that's basically on the street, fleeing violence or addicted to drugs or something. We'll worry about those, but we're not going to worry about Neil or Brent. Like we're not going to worry about Neil who's trying to pay his mortgage payment, and we're not going to worry about Brent or Sonia that are struggling, on a combined income of not very much. Where like half of your whole earnings are actually more than half are going towards your rent.
Market rent, yeah. Exactly. The policies, it's all red tape, bureaucratic, BS, right? Because it should always be, and Gloria is right on that. It should be based on the individual income, and I don't know why the government is having such a huge problem with that. Like, it doesn't matter which government gets into power; they all can say all the magic soundbite words where, oh yeah, I recognize that it needs to change. We've done a little bit. Oh, there's more to do, but at the same time, base it on the individual, because there are people across our country, and I hear stories all the time. I hear it from my neighbors. There's a building that it gets managed by the same company that I rent from, and they're not far away. There's a whole bunch of the same buildings in my whole community that are managed by the same company. There's a lot of different management corporations that are in Victoria that are huge companies. But there's also a lot of seniors. There's a lot of people on fixed incomes, PWD, that are on fixed incomes. And I want to see these policies changed to modernize it and get rid of all the bureaucratic BS, because really people are going to become unhoused as these market rents keep going higher and higher and higher. When the government keeps going a year, skip a year, when you got inflation rates through the roof, a cost of living through the roof, and then you get your landlord who gives a rate increase, and then you don't get an increase from your government. And then maybe in 2025, maybe in the budget, I'm not getting my hopes up. I say zero. I say $0. It's
going to be a big fat zero, yeah.
It'd be a big fat zero. So again, I would say to my corporate landlord, well, yeah, I got no increase again. Well, gee, Brent, what's going on here? Does the government not care about PWD? I said no, because what's going to happen is that the rent goes higher and higher. Then I guess you'd be eligible to be unhoused. You're fleeing a crisis situation. Then you'll qualify for BC housing. Oh, but wait a minute, no, you don't, because you have to be in a relationship.
Well, as soon as you and Sonia are in a cardboard box on the street.
Yeah.
As soon as you're in a cardboard box on the street, like maybe the government will do something for you. Maybe. But you have to be in a cardboard box first, Brent.
But then also you have to then go to the housing that they provide you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That they say that's available. And if you say no, they'll give you one more chance to go and check out another community.
And it could be a rat-infested place. You don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, that could be in market housing too. You're going to get that in market housing too. I always say people should be able to live in the housing sector that they want to live in and provide them with adequate financial support. I don't know why this is not rocket science. To understand that, provide people with the adequate financial support and the actual means to support their disability on top of that. Always these added extra expenses. Like for me, I need to get a new screen reader. I don't have enough money in my budget each month to do that. I need to get new shoes. I need to get a haircut. My hair is getting pretty long. But I in The Big Short, if anyone's watched The Big Short before, I really encourage you to watch it. Not that I get paid as to promote their documentary, but they say, did you cut it yourself? Did it yourself? Now, if you watch it a whole bunch of times over and over, you're going to understand government. You're going to understand the reason why they said, did you cut it yourself?
Yeah.
Now that kind of reminds me of an economic downturn that we're going through right now. Now, I'm not going to say what is ahead. There's a lot of things that are frictions as we know what's going on in Canada right now. I always say be proactive. You look at the economic downturn and you prepare as a government, and you look for you weather the storm going forward, and you say, okay, there's an indication there could be something going on here. Let's actually take care of our citizens. People are hurting across the country, even people that aren't disabled at this point in time in their life. Knock on wood.
Let's maybe not give pay raises to all the MLAs.
Right. Every single member of Legislative Assembly got an increase all the way.
Here in BC.
Yeah, in BC. Yeah. Anywhere from their aides that work in the ministerial offices, $18,000, and they could be.
That was minimum. That was minimum,
minimum,
right?
all the way up to a maximum of $60,000 for each MLA.
Yeah.
Now those MLAs could also be serving as party whip. They could be as a caucus chair. They could be
we have to say Eby invented jobs. Eby invented jobs just so he could pay everybody extra salary, right?
My mom and I
he invented duties.
Yeah, my mom and I talked about this
so he could pay people extra money. Yeah.
I remember my mom and I used to talk about this. I mean, when I was just a teenager, my mom would be following this and that, and discussion never ever came up about MLAs getting all these wage increases. Like even under former Premier John Horgan, right? Mm-hmm. God rest his soul. Just so our viewers understand that John passed away in October of 2024 due to cancer. He had a surplus in his budget. He had a surplus.
Yeah, it was $6.5 billion, wasn't it? $6.5 billion.
Now we're in $9.4 billion deficit, and that number is projected to climb rapidly. And there's nothing to see for it. I mean, and
so again, like if we're doing the math, Brent, it's been 2 years. Mm-hmm. Eby inherited the premiership. He didn't actually win it right off the bat, right? He inherited it.
Yep.
Just like, here you go, Eby. So he inherited it. He's been on the job for 2 years, and in 2 years' time, he's ballooned up the deficit to $16 billion. He's blown through 60. You know how incompetent you have to be. You know how incompetent you have to be to blow through $16 billion, Brent.
Yeah, you know what? There is a stats. I'll have to try and pull the stats now. Maybe you and I can do some digging on the stats though. But I remember years ago where it was going to cost about $1.2 billion, folks. $1.2 billion to basically bring PWD people on income assistance, or some people will call it way back when welfare. But they just changed the language on it. I guess they want to make it more dignified kind of wording. We'll call it income assistance. Make it sound better. Put a little rose on top of it, and get pink unicorns all over it. And we'll call it income assistance. And seniors. So seniors, people on income assistance, people on disabilities, $1.2 billion per year to bring them up to a poverty level, financial support. Now, because the government hasn't done that, that number now has gone up. It's going to cost more because of the cost of living. So if you would have done that years ago, when advocates across British Columbia and across the country and other provinces, and listened to all the big organizations, listened to people with lived experience, people with like doctors, nurses, other practitioners, they've all called for it. Every single person has called for it, and even allies. I mean, the PWD, their other siblings, their parents, their grandparents. I mean, brothers, sisters. I mean, you name it. I mean, we've all called for the government to make changes, and it's all gone to deaf ears.
Yeah. I
mean, I've rallied out front of the legislature, and the government coming out. Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, raise the rates. Yeah. It's all like.
Let's see if we can finish the clip, Brent, and just to see if there's anything. I forget what kind of happens at the end of the clip, but I think it's important to play the whole thing. So we'll finish.
Okay, we'll let it rip here.
Yeah.
People are under tremendous pressure with the cost of living.
Ooh.
We've already, in the time that we've been in government, increased income assistance 5 times.
5 times.
twice the rate of inflation. You'll remember under the BC government, they've frozen rates for a decade. Some of them really working hard to get more income assistance more quickly,
Really?
more fairly,
Quickly.
for more people. And this particular rule around spousal income is one that we've modified a bit. But it hasn't gone as far as they want, and it's work that we still haven't had enough.
You know, we have had a lot of reaction to this
Terrible.
story. We heard from a listener who didn't share their name, but I'd like you
Here's another good one.
to
Listen.
hear this. They write, if I say I'm in a romantic relationship and if I'm truthful with the government, they will cut me off my disability benefits because my partner makes decent money and they say she makes enough to support us both. That to me is ludicrous, to say the least. It forces us to lie about our relationship. I hate lying, but we are forced to. To further this issue, it puts anyone in danger to rely on someone else for their finances. It also breaks a lot of relationships up because of the restraints imposed on them through legislation and outdated laws. People on disability deserve love, also financial independence, away from any relationship.
Autonomy.
I cannot marry my partner because of fear of losing my financial independence. It's a sad state of affairs, to say the least. So,
Autonomy.
Minister Malcolmson, when you hear that, does it sound to you like the current system is appropriate for people who rely on the disability benefit?
It's broken.
So we feel really strongly that treating couples and individuals equally is important, and it's work that we're going to get to.
We're going to get to it.
When?
We're going to get to it.
We are coming from a system where disability rates were frozen for a decade.
She's blaming again. Blame game. Blame game.
Twice the rate of inflation. We brought in a lot of changes.
It's not tied to inflation, though.
We focused on the things that are, number one, an immediate piece of personal safety.
Where does this whole issue fit into this year's poverty reduction strategy?
Huh.
Yeah.
Some changes to the spousal rule were identified and named in our first poverty reduction strategy, which came out in 2018, and we've made those changes.
7 years later.
Changes to the definition of spouse that I mentioned earlier. Next week, we're tabling our next poverty reduction strategy, and I think advocates will see what they've been naming as a change that they still want us to do.
I don't see anything.
Along with a lot of the other even higher priorities that are about people's immediate personal safety. Supporting women who are fleeing domestic violence, helping remove some of the barriers to people being able to hang on to their housing in the case of when a family member, for example, goes into prison or goes into addiction treatment. We've got a lot of old inherited rules.
Okay, that's taking us. I understand that's taking us down a different alley.
There you go. Gloria Macarenko again is calling her out.
This is an issue that we would like to follow up on. So thank you for your time today, and we'll start. Okay.
Thank you for your listeners.
I love that.
For naming it so clearly. It is a problem we've identified. It's something we have heard loud and clear, and I really hope that we get a chance to tackle it.
I really hope we get a chance to tackle it.
Thanks, Gloria.
He's Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction.
I love it that Gloria Macarenko took her to the carpet and said, you're not answering the questions, Sheila, and again, she gave it her college try, but she did not answer the question. She kept dodging.
Especially the last part. I'm going to play the last little clip there. See if I can back it up here, right here.
An immediate piece of personal safety.
Where does this whole issue fit into this year's poverty reduction strategy?
Some changes to the spousal rule were identified and named in our first poverty reduction strategy, which came out in 2018, and we've made those changes. Those are the changes to the definition of spouse that I mentioned earlier. Next week, we're tabling our next poverty reduction strategy, and I think advocates will see what they've been naming as a change that they still want us to do, named in that strategy, along with a lot of the other
here it comes.
Even higher priorities that are about people's immediate personal safety, supporting women who are fleeing domestic violence, helping remove some of the barriers to people being able to hang on to their housing in the case of when a family member, for example, goes into prison or goes into addiction treatment. Jeez. We've got a lot of old inherited rules.
Okay, that's taking us. I understand that's taking us down a different alley for our focus.
I love Gloria there.
You've got a lot on your plate right now. This is an issue that we would like to follow up on. So thank you for your time today, and we'll stay on it. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your listeners, for naming it so clearly. It is a problem we've identified. It's something we've heard loud and clear, and I really hope that we get a chance to tackle it.
Sheila Malcolmson, thank you.
Thanks, Gloria.
Sheila Malcolmson is BC's Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction.
We hope we have the chance to tackle this.
And I know people are going to be watching this, and maybe even Sheila Malcolmson's own staffers are going to be watching this, and they're going to say, like, how dare you throw Sheila under the bus? And yeah, I guess we are a little bit, but you know what? You and I have always said we're not really throwing the person under the bus. We're throwing the policy under the bus. We're throwing the
policies. Doesn't matter which government is in power. Yeah. Whoever's in power, fix the current policy that's outdated. Even the minister has admitted that it is outdated. We inherited it. Yeah. So while you inherited it, you fix it, you change it. Batch file. Anyone who knows DOS, way back when, back in the time machine, DOS. Well, you make this batch file, you copy over as a temporary template, okay? And now you make the changes. Now you copy it back as make a whole new platform, copy it back in. What do you got? Brand new system.
Well, everybody knows that I do not like Mike Harcourt, right? Because I call him the father of the clawback.
Oh, he took away pensions.
He took away pensions. That was the start of it, right? Is that Mike Harcourt basically is the one that took away the disability pensions. It used to be a kind of a guaranteed wraparound support.
It was like a seniors. It was like a seniors.
Yeah, like a GIS, a guaranteed income supplement.
Yeah. Mike Harris in Ontario did the same thing at the same time, apparently.
Yeah.
And so it was universal across the whole country. Now BC has the chance of actually leading the country, changing it, and then other provinces could go, oh wow, it can actually be done. So which province is going to step up first and actually get people out of legislative poverty?
You know what? I have this image in my head. I can't get rid of this image in my head, but I always think about there's probably a secret room in the back of the legislature somewhere, like this dark, dusty, damp room somewhere, where there's probably a 10-foot gold statue of Mike Harcourt, and people are in the back prostrating, like going, "We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy." Because they bow to him, like, thank you for creating so much hatred towards the people with disabilities. Thank you so much, Mike Harcourt, for creating all this hatred towards PWD and their families. Thank you so much. Like, it's wonderful that you did that, Mike Harcourt. Wonderful. It was so wonderful that we've done it for 30 years now. We've done it for 30 years now. Thank you, Mike Harcourt, for being such a bigoted jerk asshole. And again, I said I wasn't going to swear, but
I got the swear jar here.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of like bigoted bullshit. And sorry.
No, it's okay.
You know what I mean?
It's frustration, right? It's because things that make sense, and the government can easily fix these things that are supposed to make sense in logical terms. However, it's called the spin doctor, right? Spin it out, and just blame each government. And I was taught by an MLA that, work together rather than doing the blame game back and forth, because nothing ever gets done when you blame another government constantly for inaction. It's not difficult. We can actually help you. We can help you change this legislation. Like, give me the pen or give me the access password code. I can get in there with other self-advocates, other organizations that actually can make this happen. Like, we can change the system to make it better for everybody, right? We can make it better.
You know what I wanted to do now, Brent?
Or you could do it yourself.
You know what I wanted to do now? We got about 15 minutes left, and I wanted to basically, I wanted to end on just sharing a bit of our own personal lived experience testimony, because you know, your struggle to find housing is well documented. You're pretty much an open book about that, right? And you've said a number of times that you'd never really wanted to move to Victoria. You've always wanted to stay in Langley, but you were kind of forced out. You want to go back to Langley, and you always talk about, you know, that PWD should be able to live in the communities that they want to live in, and in your situation, you always talk about that for Sonia, being close to the doctor, because she has lots of doctor's appointments. She has lots of doctor's appointments all the time, and you always have to come by, you know, on a ferry, and a ferry is a lot of money now.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then you have to like pay for food, and you have to pay for the hotel, because typically you have to come out like sort of when your half day is done already, so you have to come out and spend the night at a hotel, and then the next morning have your doctor's appointment booked, and then go back the next day, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so you're wasting all that time and energy and money to chase down doctors on the mainland, when you could be living here.
Exactly.
Because it's your, I mean, that's what your choice is, but the government says, well, I mean, you know, it's not our fault that you can't find the affordable housing, Brent. It's not our fault. You know, let us gaslight you. Let us gaslight you and Sonia for not being able to find cheap enough rent. It's not our fault. It's entirely your fault, Brent. You just have to budget better. You just have to live better. You have to cut back on more things, Brent.
Yeah.
You know, it's your fault. And I mean, you can talk more about that if you want. I was gonna quickly talk about my thing, but you can go ahead and talk about your thing.
Sure. I'll just to kind of add on to you pretty well summarized the whole scenario, which is really good. I grew up in Langley, you know, since I was a little baby, and I've always known Langley as my hometown. It's where I grew up. I mean, I was adopted from birth, you know, and I was brought up from my mom, who I thought was my mom, until I became of an age where I was told that no, I'm actually not your mom, you know, and so I got to meet my real mother. So I had two mothers growing up, so it's quite unique, and I really was really bonded with my mom as I grew up, because I always considered her still as my mom, even though she wasn't my biological mother. And so I had a real bond between both of them, and I could talk to them about issues that were going on in my life at the time. I would just, you know, confide with them and get their view of what would you do if you were in this situation. Not that they could tell me what to do, because, you know, they're like, Brent, I mean, you're an adult now. Like, I mean, you know, as you know, I age on, but I can, you know, I can be there for you as moral support, and I can give you some guidance of you know, what might be a good remedy, but always stand up for what you believe in. They both told me, always stand up for what you believe is right and keep pushing forward and don't back down, right? If you believe in something, right, you're going to learn as you go on too, maybe different ideas, different viewpoints, but always stand by your moral ground. And my integrity is very strong on that. You know, my attributes, some of my attributes, not all, but some of my attributes is to just be strong and believe in myself, and believe in others, that others have the capability of believing in themselves, if that makes any sense. But you know, I mean, like it's about networking with people. But anyway, my story that's my roots, is where I grew up in Langley. I grew up in the outskirts of Langley City. I didn't actually live right in downtown Langley City, but I used to love going to downtown, because hey, that was the place for me to go. I mean, I live in the rural area. There was nothing around there. I had no transit. I had a conventional big bus that I could catch, but it was, you know, it was costly, and so I would just go down and make the best of the day. After a while, I was fortunate even with my vision. I was fortunate that I could still ride a bicycle, but I had to be careful. I'd go down different rural roads where it was nice and quiet, and peace and quiet in the farmland, riding down. And I used to love it, and just take my time, get down and just enjoy the day. Peace and quiet. Never saw one homeless person, folks, not one homeless person going downtown Langley.
Yeah.
I saw one person with some suitcase once, and I thought maybe they were waiting, waiting for someone. And they said, no, my building, she burnt down. And I remember hearing that in the news. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, is that the building? Yes. I have nowhere to go. I can't afford the market rent to the other place. The price had just gone up a little bit. And he was a pensioner. He was a senior. He was a pensioner. And so his wife had passed away, so he couldn't afford the actual amount for himself, and he was waiting to get onto Safer's program. But it was all the red tape, bureaucratic bullshit that he had to wait for. So trying to find another housing. So that was where he had to go. He was, waiting for his cousin so he could try to maybe, rent with him for a while or just stay there. So that was his story, right? Everyone has their stories of why they're homeless, but I never actually saw a whole bunch of people homeless. Only that one little isolated, situation. You would never see it.
You would never see it. And now it's everywhere.
I was riding my bicycle by at the time, and I was actually on my way down to a job that I was working at. And I said to him, well, I've got $10 here. Would that help? I gave the guy $10. I gave him a $10 bill. And he's, no, young man, you keep that to yourself, right? And I said, I want to help you. So I insisted, I give you $10. He goes, can we go for lunch instead? Sure. So I took him for lunch. He said that was what he wanted me to do if I still wanted to insist on giving him that. So I took him for a sandwich and some soup and a cup of coffee. And so we both sat down and had that. And I said, well, sir, I got just less than an hour before I got to be at work. So off I went, and he went. So that's my story of that, is that you turn around, you help each other as a community, because what goes around comes around, because you never know in the future what may happen. So going forward, I appreciate, Neil, that you mentioned my story, because I think it resonates with a lot of people in BC and across Canada, that people have even more heartbreaking stories than what mine are, because they've gone through a lot worse situations. But my situation it was very hurtful, because I grew up that way, and then I moved out from my mom's house. I wanted to be on my own. Finally, I grew my wings, and my mom said, if you leave this house, you won't coming back. I moved, I came back, I moved, I came back, I moved, I came back. Because where I was working, it was easier for me to stay at a friend's place at the time. And so I less commuting, but I had to move all my stuff. And so it didn't work out, the job, and the friend that I thought was my friend wasn't my friend. He decided to go down a different pathway in his life. God rest his soul now. He's 6 feet under. I found that out about 3 years ago. Unfortunately, I got a message saying that he had passed away due to poisoned drugs. I guess he decided to get into that part, and it's very tragic. And then I lost another friend, motorcycle accident, and another friend who got into a skating accident and had killed himself. So I've gone through a lot of tragic things, and I lost my mom and my mother too. Like, it was just a spiral thing in my life. And I was fortunate to have Sonia in my life at the time, and she's still here. She put up with me, but she got to meet my mother and my biological mother. She accepted Sonia for who she is. She didn't judge Sonia. She thought very highly of Sonia, and I talked to her about the government, and Sonia did too. And she also said, always hold the government to account, because they need to be held account. Doesn't matter who is in government, Brent. Doesn't matter who is. They can tell you everything they want you to hear. And then once they get in, she said, they do a 360. I said, no. I mean, this government. So I learned as time went on that she said she was right. She was right. And going forward, then I moved. And unfortunately, I had to move to the island because I had moved into a place that was bed bug infested. I didn't know that. The manager lied. The management company lied. A whole bunch of us, we all moved in together, saved some money, right? More money to put back into the community, because you put more money back in the community, it helps to benefit small businesses, right? And that's what the government kept saying before. Oh, put more money back into the community. So that's what we all tried doing. Anyway, we all fell for it because the management company they were desperate to rent the place out, right? Knowing that there was underlying issue. So we all ended up having to move, and we all kind of went our own directions. Anyway, I ended up over on the island, and when things happen for reasons, I mean, just precarious housing, it didn't work out for whatever reasons. Home was still back in Langley. So we ended up moving back toward Langley again. So we moved back, and the place wasn't the best. It was mold and mildew, big time in the place. We had said we do not want to live around any problems. The management company assured us again, a different one, no problem. Guess what? Mold, mildew, they painted over it all. There was drugs, a major drug lab that was going on right underneath us. We didn't even know that was going on. The people next door, one floor down on a diagonal, it was going on. It floated all upstairs into our fridge. The smell, the stench, the management company came in and, oh my gosh, this is terrible. We couldn't even enjoy our dwellings. We tried moving out of there, breaking our lease at the time. We were desperate to get out. It didn't work out because another place said, well, no, we can't rent to you right now. Basically, it was like the timing wasn't right. Like, give us 30 days notice. Well, we were going to flee that. We didn't have the money to basically pay out our lease. That would have been hefty. Anyway, we wrote it out to the end of our term. We found another place that was brand new built place. We watched it getting built. We explained to the manager, hey, like, this is what's going on. Hey, you don't have nothing to worry about. Sonia basically said to the manager, if there's a problem here, we're not going to move in. She goes, well, if you don't want to freaking move in here, she swore at Sonia. Whoa, like, if you don't want to effing move in here, then don't do the application. I assure you, there's not a problem. So brand new place, right? And we moved in. Guess what? The manager cleared out 2 floors of the whole building. We were all so upset. We all had to pay out our fee unless we were to, Sonia and I, to relocate into another unit in the building and pay higher amount. And then, the precarious housing. And so I mentioned this on another podcast prior that John Horgan had said, the premier at the time was, you're going to find good landlords. You're going to find precarious landlords that are, their underlining meaning is they want to flip units over and make money. Not so good. He called it bad faith landlords is what he called it to us. Fortunately, we found that out, and we brand new place. I mean, you would think that it wouldn't be a problem, right? Well, what it came down to was the manager was desperate to make more money. So back we went. Sonia and I looked around in the Fraser Valley. We looked all the way up toward Chilliwack, all the way to North Vancouver. Every single area we could find, nothing was available when we needed it. Well, call us at the end of the month or the beginning of the month. Well, if we did by the end of the month or the beginning of the following month, we couldn't give our 30 days notice in. Well, if we didn't do that, well, then we'd be liable if the landlord couldn't rent the place out. So we'd be on the hook for another month, and our rent was now $17.75. So you can imagine. Yeah. So we had to then go and break our lease. And that was a huge financial hit for us, a huge ouch. Or we ride it out. But our manager at the time said, if we ride it out, you may miss out on an opportunity of the place that you did find in Victoria. So what would you do? She goes, I would go and take the place in Victoria because I can't foresee, by the time you write it out, you're going to be into the fall weather and you're going to have a hard time trying to find a place. Your rent's now going to be even higher and you may not find the place because rents are going to go up. So now we're in Victoria. We've been here for going on almost 4 years now, almost. Well, we're living through hell. Our neighbors, it's a situation where, it's making our life a living hell. Our mental health is deteriorating. It's to a point where a management company says, hey, so we've got a solution. You move to the top floor of the current building or one of our other buildings, and you can go and pay higher rent because we don't want to deal with you because we're complaining about stomping around, deliberately banging, dropping things, making piles of noise, creaky floors. They can't do nothing about creaky floors. I get that, but you can actually keep the neighbors down. Talk to them and say, hey, just keep things down to a dull roar, but it's gone to deaf ears, right?
Yeah.
So now we have the choice of moving to another place and pay a little bit higher rent, however, conveniently located for medical close by, shopping close by, transit close by, an older building. But is it where we want to be? No. We want to be back on the mainland.
Ultimately,
however,
you want to be back in Langley, right?
Yeah. But however, I mean, it's still within Victoria. But I mean, so we're looking at that option. Yes, the management company would get their own way. They would make more money on our unit. I feel sorry for whoever, when we do give our notice in, I feel sorry for who's going to move in here because they're going to go through even more hell, right? But that's what they want. They want to keep flipping it over, right? Rather than getting rid of the problem, let's get rid of the people that are complaining, right? To me, it's that Tennessee branch needs to change their act in that. The government needs to force a change in that where it should be like some kind of buyer's remorse where, hey, there's a problem here. Okay, let's let the tenant actually out and work with the situation. Right now, the government going a year and skipping a year and like the cost of living, like we're having to like really sacrifice like big time and then worry thinking, oh gosh, we're gonna have to move and then worry that we're not going to get an increase in the BC budget. Like that really puts a real denter in it. And then Sonia still has to go for medical appointments.
And I wanted to bring it back to the whole thing. I mean, this whole podcast has been about family.
Yeah.
And how government does not respect, like the BC government here does not respect the families of people with disabilities. I mean, like we said, there's double standard, right? If you're able-bodied, you have this definition or this standard of family and this standard of pension. And I'll get into my story, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
everybody knows my story of my first wife. She passed away. And what does the government do? They disrespect my inherited survivor's pension from my dead wife, my first dead wife. And they said, you know what, Neil, shit happens. It's too bad that you lost your first wife, but shit happens, and we're gonna punish you. We're gonna punish you for the fact that your wife died. We're gonna punish you for that because the families of PWD deserve punishment. That's the bottom line, right? The families of PWD deserve punishment because we are at a different standard than everybody else, right? So there's like it's no holds barred thing. It's like whatever it goes, right? You know as well. I've shared as well. My fight with the human rights tribunals, and I talked as well to the office of the ombudsman person. They're the overseer of basically government action or inaction, and so I talked
on this situation.
Yeah, and I put a call into the ombudsman office recently, and you know what their response was with the whole thing? Because I said, it's really terrible. Like it really sucks. Like it's awful that the government doesn't have to respect the truth of what a pension is, and that's what I said to the person, because again, like a pension, if a pension wasn't a pension, it would just be money, right? It would just be, but the reason why you call a pension a pension, the reason why you call a pension is because you pay into it. It's an earned thing. It's an earned thing through work. You pay into it. It's a deserved thing. It's a protected. It should be a protected pension.
Yeah, CPP.
That's what it should be, right? And so I told the ombudsman person. He called me and I said, it sucks that the government doesn't have to respect the truth of the pension. And you know what his response was? He said, well, you know what, Neil? He says, we're not talking about provincial courts here. We're not talking about provincial courts. So he basically said that because we're not talking about provincial courts, the government can basically lie their face off.
Wow.
I mean, he basically said that without saying that, right? He said,
right, yeah.
He said we're not talking about provincial courts here. So basically, it's no holds barred. The government can do whatever the hell they want. You know, and it just the whole thing is just so stupid. Where, and we've talked about this too, about this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the reason why I think it's bullshit is because the government uses that to paint bigger targets on your back, right?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, and I'll wrap up in a second, but what I mean by that is, you know, it's one thing, like, I have a disability, you have a disability, so, like, because I have a disability, the government is going to pay me X amount of like, what is it for a single? It's like around $1,500 a month, right? Around
14,
there.
Yeah, 1483.
Yeah. So for a single amount, it's like that. And because I have a son, I'm supposed to get more. I'm supposed to get a bit more because I have a son.
Of course.
But because I have a clawback, and because of the clawback, as under an income on my survivor's pension, I'm actually getting less than a single person does. But what I was going to say, what I was going to say is this whole thing about family, where government disrespects family, is like, you know, if I had just stayed as only a disabled person, the government's like, oh well, that's fine. We'll pay you to the maximum of $1,500 a month. You know, if you just stay a disabled person, that's fine. We'll pay you to the $1,500 a month. But because your wife died, and it's your fault that she died, Neil. Because it's your fault that she died, and because she died, and you tick another box of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because you tick another second box, we're gonna have to punish you for that, Neil. We're gonna have to punish you, and we're gonna have to put a bit bigger target on your back. You know, because you tick another box, we're gonna punish you. We're gonna punish you. That's the current system of our provincial governments. That if you have something shitty happen to you, really shitty, like some your wife dies, or you have a workplace accident, of like WCB claim, like we're gonna punish you for that.
Yeah, they're gonna claw that off too.
You lose your job. We're gonna claw that. We're gonna claw employment insurance off of you. Any shitty thing that happens.
Anything they love to claw that they love to doing it.
Any shitty thing that happens, the government says, oh well, you just put a bigger target on your back because you put a bigger vulnerable target on your back. You're super vulnerable. You're super vulnerable. So because you just proved that you're super vulnerable, we're gonna victimize the shit out of you. Right? We're gonna make you pay. We're gonna give you pain.
Yeah.
We're gonna punish you
just for being who you are. I mean, it's no fault of your situation, of what you're going through, and the government punishes people for being for who they are. Like when I mentioned about that when I was living at home, and I'll give you a good example. It reminds me of the clawbacks, and the government's still clawing that back. And I even said right to the to their government, I said, I remember getting on the phone and talking to them with my mom, like, and we actually went there in person. We had a meeting. And my mom was so mad. I mean, the language, I'm not going to repeat on here. I learned some good syllables back then. I learned the vocabulary pretty well, what came out of her mouth. Let's put it this way. The worker that my mom was dealing with for seniors, she went beet red. Like a tomato, the lady went beet red in the face. And you know what the response was? It's policy, ma'am. It's policy. I'm just following what the government policy is that we need to entrench in here going forward. I can't make exceptions. So if I make exceptions for you, I gotta change the exceptions for everybody. Oh, my mom goes, so then that's fair then? That's fair? That she goes, well, yeah, we can't make, and she agreed. I go, then I jumped in, I went, So you're agreeing that it's okay. What I'm saying is, my mom used to shop at the Otter Co-op. It's a community-based shopping store, hardware, pet supplies, food. I mean, your groceries. So my mom used to give a lot of business there. Case lot sales. So she had a little farm, in her yard and hobby farm, and she loved her family. She called it was her family, right? I mean, wow. She had names for every single pet she had, and God rest her soul. I feel so sorry that what she had to go through, what she endeavored. The government put a lot of stress on her life. I saw the wear and tear, and I was getting very upset. So I started working more and more and more. I was doing three jobs, one full-time job, two part-time jobs. I am picking another one up. I was getting like 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep a night. My mom told me to stop because I was trying to make so much more money to help her. Because you know why? Because the government was clawing back money that my mom was given as a dividend from the co-op.
Yeah.
That it was like saying, thank you very much for your patronage. Here's a check for you for shopping. And 1 year she only got $1,500 back. Another year she got $3,000 back. And guess what the government did? Well, thank you very much. We're going to take this now off you.
That's
off your
my money now. It's our money now.
Off, and they clawed it off her.
Yeah.
She begged and pleaded, like, this is my money. Like, this is my money off my pension. I put that money into the grocery store. But now you're going to take it off me because you're classified as not employment income. My mom goes, for God's sake, I'm a senior. Like, I don't have employment. Nope, it's unearned income, they called it. Unearned income. Yeah. Just I earned it because it came on my pension. Yeah. And so they took it away. So I had to help her out. I was working around the clock. Well, guess what? Because I was PWD, I was only allowed to make so much money. So guess what? I got punished now too. They clawed it off me.
It's the double standard, right? It's the
double standard. They clawed it off me too. But initially I had the money. So now I gave it to her to help. My mom didn't realize it. I gave it to her. Yeah, guess what? I got hurt. I got punished. They took it off me. So I had to keep working more to try to catch that up.
Yeah.
And it was a revolving cycle. And it got to a point where my mom started screaming at them. And again, so folks, I understand when you mentioned about household income, it needs to change. Like, it needs to be based on the individual. My brother had to move out because they were going to cut her off her SAFERs because the household income was too high between my brother, because he actually worked for himself. He had his own business. So he actually was making too much. I was making apparently too much combined with my brother. And so it affected my mom's income. So they said, one of you has to move. I stayed. And even then I stayed, but the income was still lower. So guess what? But because I was working, guess what? That income was still too high. So guess what? I had to now leave where I work. Yeah. Otherwise, guess what? My mom would have actually lost her place. And my mom
it's all about punishing the family, right? It's all about punishing the family.
Yeah. So that's family day. That's family day, right? And so when people say, "Are you not celebrating family day?" I don't have any family left. I have some relatives. I do have some relatives that I do stay in contact with, but family, no. Yeah. I just say it as another day. I envy the people who are celebrating Family Day, and happy Family Day to you from me, from PWD Allies podcast. I mean, happy Family Day to you if you are celebrating or you recognize Family Day. But for the average PWD, I'm sure that we could all agree for PWD across Canada, Family Day, it's just another day.
No, I mean, I'll be real. I mean, I'm really thankful for the family and support that I have, because I have a lot of family and support. Not necessarily financial support, but emotional support, psychological support. The typical family support for most people, and I'm very thankful for that. So let's at least call that out. But I did want to have a little bit of a dose of reality pill here. Like, the whole point of this podcast was to say that, all of government policies, it's just ripe with double standard. It's like, well, it's like, well, here's Family Day for if you're able-bodied, but here's Family Day if you're disabled, and here's a pension if you're able-bodied, and here's a pension. It's a pink unicorn. A pension is a pink unicorn if you're disabled. It turns it's just vapor. It's just vapor because you know what, we hate the disabled. We hate. That's exactly it. That's what the policy is. The policy says that the provincial government hates us.
Yeah, that's what my neighbor was telling me that this morning. Said that the government does not like disabled people. And you know what? She brought a line up to a little quote. And it was funny because I was just talking to Sonia the other day, and I've mentioned this before on the podcast too, but I can't recall what that lady's name is now. We keep bumping into her, Sonia, every so often. But anyway, she's very well outspoken individual, but she's disabled, but she does not hold back words. She basically said there was a line that the Minister of Finance said from the BC NDP. This was last year, just after the BC budget was put out. And she said, no one wants to deal with poverty.
Yeah.
I said, yes, I know that line. She goes, yeah, nobody. And that's bad. That's coming from the Minister of Finance, what we had. Yeah. Nobody wants to deal with poverty. Then why do we have Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction if nobody wants to deal with poverty? Hello.
Burn it down.
Yeah, let's get rid of it.
Burn it down.
A vote. We should do a poll. I should do a poll on Twitter, on social media, and say who wants to change the ministry name.
Yeah,
don't need
burn it down. Burn it down and start again.
Yeah, burn it down. Just get rid of it.
And again, like people are going to say, like, how dare you call out Sheila Malcolmson? And again,
we're not calling her out.
We have to say we're calling out the policy. It's the policy, not the person.
Yeah.
I'll say that till I'm blue in the face. It's the It's the policy, 100% the policy. It's nothing to do with the person at all.
I remember workers, and I vouch for that too, because there was a worker with my mom, and she said, Gladys, it is policy, and she said to my mom, policy. And so again, and that was decades ago. Okay, so you can imagine the hurt and the resentful going forward, and you're probably thinking, okay, so that's why you're pissed off, Brent. That's why. No, because it actually hurt me too. Like it hurt me financially, emotionally, like physically. And I said to my mom, the night before she passed, I said, I will not stop advocating to change seniors supplements for people with disabilities. I said, I'll advocate for myself, for other disabled people who don't have a voice. I mean, they have a voice, but maybe they're shy. Maybe they're camera shy. Maybe they want to be heard, but they're scared that the government will shut them down. They will shut them down. And speaking of someone getting shut down, there was something that was very on Special Family Day. I saw this yesterday. There was something in another province, not that it's jurisdictional stuff, and I don't like doing jurisdictional stuff, but it was something that I was reading that brought to my attention was somebody who was a strong advocate, and they got shut down by their government for speaking the truth. The truth.
Yeah.
Like, really, government? Is that what you're going to do, is shut people down? Yeah. And for speaking the truth? I think it was called the breaker. Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I mean, come on, government. Yeah. Like, I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, if a person is vulgar and they're doing a personal attack against you, yeah, okay. You can maybe say, hey, tone it down a bit. But for someone speaking the truth and doing an overview of just bringing out like issues that are a problem that need to be addressed, and maybe working across party lines and fixing things. Is that what we are about? Is shutting people down?
Yeah, and again, just we're gonna have to clock out of here, Brent. Yeah. But I just wanted to say, like, again, in my situation, like, it's been 12 years for me, where it's every month the government is still clawing back almost $500 a month from me, $500 a month. They're clawing back of my survivor's pension.
That's how government takes care of that family.
And it's been 12 years, over 12 years of this. And it's like, I can't help but look at, like, I can't help but see the hatred there. I can't help but see the hatred. It's so blatant, the hatred of disabled widows and widowers. It's a blatant hatred that the government has towards vulnerable widows and widowers. It's a double-fisted middle finger to all the widows and widowers. Basically, F you, F you. You deserve to be extra punished. If you only had stayed just disabled, Neil. If you only had stayed just disabled, we would support you up to a maximum amount. But because you are disabled and you were dumb enough to have a spouse die on you.
Terrible. Because
you're dumb enough to have a spouse die on you, we're going to have to punish you. We're going to have to victimize you for that. We're going to have to punish you and victimize you for that. You realize how stupid that sounds, Brent? You realize how stupid and just so stupid that sounds?
It is. It doesn't even make any logical sense why the government is doing that. I'm so sorry that you're having to go through that. And the government, government, you can fix this, okay? Neil speaking on behalf
of... Burn it down. I'm telling everybody to burn it down.
And he's speaking on behalf of other people that what they're going through. You can change the system. Do it immediately. No, there's more to do. Oh, for sure. Thank you guys for all your strong advocacy. Right. We can talk, but how about action? Words are great. How about action? Action is results. So you can fix PWD rates, bring up to no less than poverty level, stop all clawbacks. Done. We can teach you how to do it. We can guide you along. Let's go. Come on, let's go a little bit forward. Come on, faster.
I want to see Sheila Malcolmson burn it down. I want to see her burn it down. That would fix it. That would fix it if you burn it down to the ground. It down to the ground and start again. That would fix it. That would fix it.
Exactly. And then she could say to her staff and say, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to show an example. We're going to change the whole system. We're going to immediately burn it down now. We're going to rebuild. And what you do is you get all the files temporarily. You move it over to a temporary template batch file. You move it over temporarily. You rebuild it. And now you re-put those files back in under new regulations. And it's like the CDB on Family Day. Nothing to celebrate, to look forward to that, right? Because that $1,000 check that all families were expecting. Oh, wow, that was something, eh?
Pink unicorn, Brent.
Was right behind
another pink unicorn.
Yeah, but hey, they want to blame it on something else, right? Yeah. It could have been dealt with. Way back beforehand. If you couldn't have delivered on it, then why even promise it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
The new finance minister who's now taken over said she understands people being upset and that they were really hoping for this, but right now we can't do it. She wanted to deliver it. Well, really? How about PWD? How about in the BC budget 2025 that's going to be delivered on March 4th? We're going to be talking on another podcast about that in the very near future.
Yeah.
So that's a little...
On Thursday, we're going to have the show talking about this whole promised budget thing. Yeah. So that'll be another fun show. And I apologize. Today's show, I let my emotions get a hold of me, and then that happens. But you know what? Again, what it is that I think of my wife, my first wife in heaven, and I think of how just she would be so upset. She herself would be so upset to know that the provincial government has deliberately victimized me, deliberately on purpose. They've deliberately victimized me. They're deliberately victimizing every widow and widower. They're deliberately victimizing every widow and widower on purpose, because families of people with disabilities don't matter. That's the truth. That's the truth. Is that there's so much hate. There's so much hate.
Yeah.
For people, and it has to be burned down. They have to burn it down, and we'll punch out. But that's,
And I appreciate you saying that, Neil, because my mom and my mother would be looking down right now. The same thing, going, why is this even being a discussion now, where it could have been fixed decades ago? These
Yeah.
problems, and it didn't just happen overnight, folks. These problems have been here for a very, very long time.
Over 30 years. Over 30
Yeah, more
years
or
of,
more.
of deliberate legislative poverty on purpose.
Oh, on
Deliberate
purpose.
legislative poverty on purpose.
Yeah, and it hurts families. It tears families apart. It actually destroys families, destroys people's well-being. And then they say, oh, they want people's votes.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be another time discussion. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I know I went off the deep end myself. I get emotional also, because it's very hurtful when you got family around you and then you see them hurting, and then it causes infliction on your own self because you don't want to see them hurting. So now you're trying to now fix the problem that the government's now hurting them, and it hurts yourself. So we need to fix these systems, and the government needs to stop on you, like you, to fix the problem. I expect on the next podcast we're going to talk about this. There's a little sneak peek. BC budget 2025. What's in there for PWD? Well, it's a nothing burger. I don't know. We'll talk about it then.
I hear a bunch of echo.
Echo. Anyway, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, Family Day, February 17th. Many provinces are recognizing it as a day to bring people together, bring families together, bring loved ones together. Enjoy the day. I hope everyone enjoys your day today.
And God bless the families. God bless the families.
God bless the families who are enjoying.
But yeah, we just have to call out governments, because the governments don't care about families of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
They don't.
It's all about policies there, folks. It's all about policies, right? Policies can be changed. It just like they can be changed. It's really just comes down to the eagerness for them to actually do that. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, or please subscribe if you like the content. Like, share the content. Every time you like the button, it actually helps the channel a lot and helps us grow. Put all the content out that you're watching.
I have to take a cold shower now, Brent, to cool down.
Yes,
I kind of blew a gasket on today's show a little bit. But...
it's okay, Neil. It's okay. That just goes to show that the government watching this. Could be needing a lot of changes happening. So you can take the first step and actually change policies.
Yeah.
But thanks again, and remember, this is no slight on government ministers directly.
No.
It's all about policy.
Yeah.
Policies, everyone.
Yeah.
Policies.
It's all policy, not the person.
If you don't like the policies, remind the government, if you're watching this live or after, remind the government that you're not okay with the policies on how they treat seniors with disabilities, people with disabilities, because there are seniors with disabilities too. And there's veterans. I mean, there's a whole broad range of our population that needs to be recognized for who they are. Don't punish them. Don't punish them anymore. Stop.
I have no ill will towards Sheila Malcolmson at all.
No, absolutely not.
It's all 100% the policy. We just have to keep saying that over and over again. Yes, we were very harsh on the government today, but it's deserved. It's deserved, right? Because we're just,
Remember that one line? There's no better place than home. There's no better place than getting rid of policies. There's no better place to get rid of policies. Just keep saying that over and over, everybody.
Burn it down. Burn it down.
Burn it down. Just
burn it down to start again. And then you've actually fixed it.
Yeah. It's called defrag the hard drive. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Cheers.
Cheers.